Because I would consider myself a booer and a voter. I early voted, as I showed you, the proof of my sticker. And I'm also talking shit about the candidate that I had to vote for. I voted for Kamala, by the way. And also Colin Allred, because fuck Ted Cruz. What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of Look at the Material podcast. I'm your host, BK, and today I want to talk about this concept that I call booing and voting. It's based off of the now famous slogan coined by Barack Obama, which is don't boo, vote. And before I get into the meat and titers of this video, I did early vote. I did early vote, as you can see. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because a lot of people, especially as of recently in this particular election, have been associating critique of a particular party or a particular candidate as a signal that you're somehow not civically engaged or that you're being disingenuous or bad faith. So I want to just kind of get into that today. Let's look at the material. So I was inspired to make this video after I watched the company man interview Jill Stein, and I'll make sure to link the video in the description below. I was pleasantly surprised to see Jill Stein sit down with the company man, and I liked that Justin Hunt interviewed her because I respect his work. I think that he was fair and measured, and one thing that I really like that's different from the other interviews I saw with Jill Stein is that Justin really let her speak, and I thought all of his questions were really thoughtful. Some of the other places I've seen her interviewed, it's almost like this instant like, do you or do you not believe in this, and do you or do you not, and it's just like, oh my god, like anybody would be stressed or fumble over their words in that type of situation. What I gathered from that interview, and again, make sure y'all go check out that interview. Justin Hunt, you did a phenomenal job interviewing Dr. Stein. But I would say the thesis of my video today, and a big thing that I gained from watching this interview, is that at the very root of it all, I feel like a lot of her answers came back to, we want people to have a voice. We want people to say, hey, I don't like either of these options. And if we don't document that we want something different will never be offered. She also mentioned that there are, I think she said 1,500 Green Party candidates that are serving in like local and state politics right now. And they've gotten a couple people in Congress, if I'm not mistaken. I'll go ahead and play her clip right here, just so I'm not misspeaking.
Between elections, because I think most people interact with the Green Party during presidential elections. Mm-hmm. Can you give a description of what the Green Party does to further their agenda so that, you know, it feels like a viable movement?
You know, so we're part of a social movement as well as an electoral movement. And the press, you know, one of the many smears they run against us is that we supposedly go away in between presidential races, which is not true at all. What goes away is the mainstream media, you know, so we're kind of, we are disappeared, we're canceled, even during races too. It's very hard for us to get coverage even during races. And by the way, we are forced to run at the presidential level if we want to maintain our ballot status. And why is that? That's because of the rules that the Democrats and Republicans have created. They have these ridiculous ballot access laws that are designed to silence competition and to make sure that nobody else gets on the ballot. But that's how democracy is supposed to work. You're supposed to have choices. You know, if you don't have choices, it's not a democracy. So, you know, we don't go away. We're here doing the work. We have about 150 people serving as city councilors, as mayors, as school committee, you know, development, rent control boards, et cetera. We're here doing the work. We've had a couple people elected to state representative, but the system fights us tooth and nail.
The point is, the Greens' mere existence is important, particularly on the state and local level, because it does give that option for the potential to actually win that seat, like a city council seat or a school board member seat, and actually make local policy changes which so happen to directly impact us based on the county you're in, based on the city you're in, based on the state you're in, you know? So I thought that it was nice that she pointed out that talking point, because there is a talking point where it's like, y'all don't do anything except for pop up every 4 years. So I didn't know that they had people working on the state and local level as well. So that's nice. My point is, you don't have to vote for Jill Stein, but I don't think that getting upset that people do vote for Jill Stein or other third party candidates is helpful in a healthy democracy? Shouldn't we be welcoming critique? Shouldn't we be welcoming dialogue? Shouldn't we create open and safe spaces just to freely talk about how things could be better and different? Why is it that because you don't think that Jill can win, and she likely won't, that people don't have the right to speak up? And that's why I think the premise is boo and vote, because I would consider myself a booer and a voter. I early voted, as I showed you, the proof of my sticker. And I'm also talking shit about the candidate that I had to vote for. I voted for Kamala, by the way. And also Colin Allred, because fuck Ted Cruz. And also voted for propositions, judges, all the way down ballot. And something that really bothers me, and I think people don't realize sets a really dangerous precedent, is that people were getting clocked online and IRL by like the coconut-pilled blue MAGA kids for even just expressing discomfort with the two options, for expressing discomfort about a genocide, you know? And so it's like, I just think that we should never be against people raising their voices to say, hey, can things be better? Is there anyone else that can represent like my beliefs here? Is there anyone else that can represent my needs here or my interests here? If Jill Stein can't win, why the fuck is she such a threat? If Jill Stein has no shot in hell, if she's only gonna get 0.5% or 1% of the vote, what's the point in like spending money and time and energy degrading her or degrading people who support third party candidates? Again, you don't have to vote for Jill Stein or Claudia de la Cruz or Cornel West or whoever is running. You don't have to vote for them. You can continue to vote down ballot blue no matter who. But I think we need to have a real serious conversations with ourselves as people who claim to want to fight for democracy, why you would snuff out another citizen that's civically engaged. Another point that I really liked that Jill Stein pointed out was that something like 1 out of every 3 US citizens is not registered to vote or doesn't vote or something like that, and that they kind of target those disaffected voters who say, I'm gonna sit out because I don't see any of my interests represented, and bringing them back into the fold of being civically engaged. This reminds me of Tim Walz when he was originally asked about the uncommitted movement. What did he think about the uncommitted movement?
I think those folks were expressing a democratic frustration. That's healthy. But at the end of the day, they're certainly not going to go with Donald Trump. The question is, we need to make sure they're motivated enough to realize they need to come back, that they need to get back on the issue of what happens in the Middle East, but also what happens on reproductive rights, what happens on healthcare, what happens on environment. On all of those things, those are folks that are with President Biden. So yeah, I think they're doing it, and I think it's healthy, and I think those people have every right to express their frustrations, but at the end of the day, they will come home, and that will help make the difference.
Which, for clarity's sake, let me read what the uncommitted movement exactly is. The Uncommitted National Movement is a protest campaign aimed mainly to pressure Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to achieve a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war and impose an arms embargo on Israel. The group received some support in the 2024 Democratic presidential primaries. When Tim Walz was asked on national television what he thought of the uncommitted movement in the face of liberals, liberal Zionists, and party loyalists degrading these people, he was like, these people are civically engaged. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to stand up and say, hey, I want to vote. I want to be civically engaged because it matters and it impacts my life. But I have some demands that you're not aligning with right now. He says, these are civically engaged people. These are disaffected Democrats who want to vote for Democrats. We should engage with them. We should sit down with them. We should talk to him. Now, we can talk about Tim's words then versus his actions now that he's running for vice president of the United States. But we need to have more of that attitude coming from the Democratic Party. But I do think that this interview sheds a light on the importance of being tolerant of third-party candidates. She talks a lot about how success for them looks like just inspiring conversations when it comes to dreaming of something more on a state level, on a local level, and on a federal level. I think she's kind of even saying, especially when she talked about the fact that she was pro-ranked voting, which essentially says you can vote on a ranking system. So let's say I want to vote for Jill Stein and I put Jill Stein as number 1, Kamala as number 2, Trump as number 3. If Jill Stein gets knocked out of the race, my vote automatically goes to Kamala. So you kind of get more of a choice to select who you like the most and who you like the least. That to me signals that she's pro people expressing how they feel about their governments and their public officials and their representatives. And I stand by that sentiment. even though I didn't even vote for Jill Stein. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and I think that's really the point of me making this video today. Sorry if this is more of a ramble than anything. I just kind of wanted to get a couple of thoughts off my chest while I twisted out my hair. I'm like, I'm gonna be sitting here twisting out my hair, might as well make a video to go along with it after watching Justin's video. Again, Justin, I think you did an incredible job. If you watch this video, I know I'm a very small channel, but I just want to encourage more imagination, more discourse, and more dialogue with people who we disagree with, people who we're just right there with, but maybe disagree on a couple things. I think that it's important to allow people outside of a binary system to speak. Right? Like, there is such a spectrum of ideas and beliefs, and I think instead of being like, they've never won, you're throwing your vote away, voting for her won't end the genocide, instead of beating people over the head in a supposed democracy and shutting down their voice because it's different from yours or because you think it's stupid or whatever, or not pragmatic, why not be curious? Why not have good faith conversations with the people that are shoulder to shoulder with you? Why not try to understand their perspective and really take the time to be tolerant and open and curious? That's the whole point of this boo and vote campaign that I'm starting right now. Like, I encourage people to chirp about the things that piss them off, talk to their friends, talk to their families, talk to their neighbors, get out of your fucking ecosystem and your silo, and maybe try to understand people. And hopefully through conversation, through discourse, through education and re-education, we can find more points of solidarity that we didn't even know were there. So again, I encourage you to vote. If you haven't early voted, make sure that you vote on November 5th. Make sure you get a voting plan. Make sure you are registered to vote. You can go to, I think, your local Secretary of State, or just type in, am I registered to vote? Or am I an active voter? And I'm sure like the first or second link that pops up will give you the information that you need. I went to early vote at a library near me, and all I had was my passport as my ID, and that was just fine. Took me about 30-45 minutes because a lot of people were in line to early vote, which is cool. And actually in Dallas County, I saw one of my representatives post on his Instagram story, Rep. Vincent Jones, that the Dallas County Elections Department has announced that they have extended hours for the final 3 days of early voting to accommodate the high turnout seen across Dallas County. From October 30th through November 1st, all early voting locations will now be open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., 2 hours later than previously scheduled, allowing more time for voters to participate before Election Day. I'll make sure to link all that information in the description below. Y'all, let me know what you thought about this video. If you've seen Dr. Stein's video on the Company Man's page, what did you think about it? Please let me know in the comments below. And also let me know if you have any questions about what I believe, if you want me to make a video about that, what I think about the label leftist or socialist or communist. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.